Wake him up. Check him.
So try again.
Yeah. Hello. Hello, hello. It's all right. So.
Ask if they are.
Are you? Do you hear me? We changed microphone. Gary, can you say if you're here?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. It's okay. So the idea was to have a general conversation about the project, and initially I wanted to have a discussion about the release of 3.0 because it's been quite painful, on my opinion, a bit difficult and very long. But then speaking about it, I decided it would be more interesting to have a general conversation about the project, and having this SWOT method to bring ideas for the discussion is always like a good support to start discussion. So we had this panel here, which you're gonna see right now. I don't know if it will be. Oh, we've got Giovanni. I don't know if it's big enough for you to read, but we can also upload a picture if someone can take a picture. So the principles of SWOT is quite simple. You put items concerning the project and their objective in 4 different categories, which are strengths of the project, weaknesses of the project, opportunities for the project, and threats to the project to meet their objectives. And it's a square with helpful, everything which is helpful is on the left, with everything which is harmful to the project is on the right. And then we separate between what's comes from internal origins and what comes from external factors. So during this, the 2 previous days, we had some post-it laid over this SWOT analysis. So maybe someone can read them generally to have a first set of ideas which are put on this SWOT, and then we can discuss on the main things which rise up. Regis, do you want to read it? Yeah, if you can start. Okay, can you start? Can you maybe read?
So I'm gonna read what people wrote during the 3 past days. So in the cell, which the first one, top left, which is helpful and from internal origin. So that's the strength. We have community atmosphere, friendly community, which is related. Mature established open source project. Something about open source. And then we have some things related to the features of QGIS. So symbology and labeling, expressions, the fact that it is that it runs on multiple operating systems, Linux, Windows, and macOS. QGIS features are mostly equal to ArcGIS. This is written here. Custom forms and something else. I can't read. One code base for GIS and server. The best SQL client for databases. And multi-language, the fact that it supports multi-languages. Okay, I continue with the weaknesses. Okay, so this is different different kind of concerns here. So we have lack of diversity in the community. Lack of visibility on releases, roadmap, and features. The QGIS 3 that is called Virtual Carrot by the Qwat team. Maybe it's a private joke, but I don't know. Seeing QGIS. Okay, Regis will explain just after. Seeing QGIS 3 as the holy grail, which implies never release. I'm just reading, don't shoot on me. Complexity of documentation and translation process, lack of manual test cycles, issue tracker, UI scalability, not sure what it means, soft releases with two exclamation marks, documentation, analysis, algorithm not reliable, performances of QGIS server, the developer fatigue, the learning curve, the QGIS compile time. Yes, I agree. There is something posted with death to Travis. Few documentation about QGIS C++ standards. Community can't follow code issues documentation. The development pace is greater than the ability to review code. Review plus merge plus fast track. Not sure to understand. QML and PRG not formalized. Okay, the file format are not formalized and less interoperable. Organization rules should be more detailed and enforced. That was for the weaknesses. I continue. So for the opportunities, big private companies switching to FOSS4G, PostGIS, Big GIS, QGIS, and so on. Clients mature regarding open source software and funding. Open source public policies that is growing. B, an interoperability standard. Esri switch to software as a service. OGC web services certification for the server and the client part. QGIS server, between parentheses, it's improved. Web platform, and the opportunity given by the Inspire thing in Europe and the digital markets. Not sure what it is. And then finally, the threats. No funding for refactoring and bug fix. External providers, stability, Saga, and so on. Clients who stop funding developers. To find clients that want to fund bug fix. And more general things. Balance between the community part and the commercial part. Few people know and can handle QGIS IT infrastructure. Jürgen hit by bus or a tram. It's important to do it. A truck is fine. And the last threat, the cloud-based GIS software that are competitors, I guess. Vincent, you want to? Okay.
We should have asked to sign the post-it. Let me explain the virtual carotte. It's a French Switzerland term, it seems. It's about what happened during last year. We had a group, Qwat, who is very involved in funding QGIS 3. And each time we needed a new feature, we were saying it's in QGIS 3, and they felt like a donkey with a carrot to help him go further, but never able to eat the carrot. So, and that was the problem of the never coming release we had until today.
So any reactions about all this stuff, all these items? Maybe we can choose one or the other. If you have things you think are really important and either very good for the project as well. Do not forget that we have very positive stuff, and usually it's often that we focus on what's bad and forget to say, yeah, that's really great. So do not hesitate to say, I don't know, Jeff is great, for example. and otherwise, could you tell us what is important to you as regarding the project, and what you consider should be done in the future, or what could be a problem in the future? Wants to go? I'm sure you all have opinions about that. So otherwise, I pick someone, and you just have to say something. Was that maybe Gary? Gary? Not sure. Okay, so maybe I leave to.
Trying to find the unmute button. I'm just observing. My poor old ears don't catch everything so well, so I'll just continue to listen in.
All right. Andreas, you sent an email just not long ago, so I think there are a few points in your email which reflects some of the items which are written here. So maybe you can elaborate on that. Are you okay?
Well, my concern was about the release management, that it's not so organized. Just publishing the source code, I think, is not good enough, but better wait with announcements until the binary packages are really available to the users for the major platforms, and also make sure the visual changelog is ready, and documentation and everything. Of course, documentation, it's a huge task, and we decided to do this only for LT versions, which is useful, I think. But the API documentation should be ready, I think, for Python developers, and the visual changelog is really important for users to decide or to see what was really happening or going on in the last 2 years until so they had to wait for Qgis Swot. And I think currently we are not not doing a very good job in this respect. Of course, this is not only developer work. The changelog can be done by users, documentation as well. Developers already do a lot of work.
So the SWOT is a good start, I think, to just point out what could be better and what is positive in the project. Maybe we could try to get learnings from the release process. From what we've seen, it was postponed several times, which can be the case because Qgis 3 was a major step. It's not an issue. Something that was really hard for us and our customers was the lack of visibility. And almost 2 years, it was really the point where some customers were starting to go away or losing confidence. So I think some customers were almost losing confidence in Qgis 3. They were funding, never coming. 1 year, 1 year and a half can be something good. 2 years, we are playing with fire, I think, at this point. One other thing we learned is that for developers, the that was that soft feature freeze thing. It didn't help to have clear plan because we didn't have a clear feature freeze. I don't know if we can open a debate on that, and if it's something
the soft feature freeze was an exception for Qgis 3 only. It won't happen again.
I hope so, but QGIS 4 will happen one day.
Yeah, can I just go on soft feature freeze and then I want to insist on that because that's something which has been very difficult for us and for me as well as a company manager. This soft feature freeze thing, I really don't want to see that again, never. Because what happened actually was, for example, one of our developer took everything which was possible to get his feature on time and to get a very high quality of results for the feature he had just before the release, and he canceled his holidays. So he took 2 weeks more canceling his holidays, and then it was ready on time. And then just when it was ready, people said, "Oh no, we have a soft release, so it will be released somewhere in the future." And that was in September. And that can't happen again because socially, that's something which is creating frustration, which is creating anger, and that's not the way we're gonna have a community which is solid. So this is very important on a human level. That's not a risk which is technological. That's a risk which is social, and that's a risk for all of us developers. I know. Some of you maybe know what burnout is. That's a risk in open source with passionate people as well. And we should be very careful with that. And I think soft release is the worst idea ever regarding this specific risk. So I wanted to make it loud and clear. And I hope we have fixed release X. So that's all we wanted to say.
I just wanted to ask Regis if when you talk about visibility, you mean transparency about the development schedule? What did you mean with visibility? Lack of visibility.
Yeah. Some clients have which rely hugely on QGIS. They fund things, get it done very fast, and the QGIS 3 transition was so delayed.
Yeah. Okay.
They lost any visibility, and very big issue.
Okay. Yes, we probably hit the same problem when we were in Boundless, because it was very difficult to plan for when you're in a company. You need to plan for the release. You need to plan for the test cycles, for the marketing campaign, and everything. So yes, I think that this is a big issue if you want to make sure that you have a product and you can deliver the product at a certain date. So we should try to do better next time.
How long would that take?
Excuse me?
The release. How long would have that take? You don't know. We didn't know either. So we initially said it takes as long as it takes. We release when it's ready. Later on, the people that did the work. Why do I hear myself? Said they wanted a date, then they got a date, then they wanted another date. And that was essentially the problem. So we switched to a date, and later on they didn't meet their own date. I would have liked to stay with our original plan so that we at least are dependable in that sense, that we say it takes as long as it takes. Because that was obviously that the major release was something we couldn't really estimate how long it would take to migrate all the stuff. Python, Qt, 4 to 5, and these kind of things. And we also don't have people that we can mandate to do stuff. So we can only rely on what they say, how long they might take for something. And so that comes with the territory. We don't know how long it will take, so we cannot set dates. But we can now because we can now return to the original scheduling that we release on a schedule, whatever we have. And this was not possible because we would have had something that we cannot ship at a certain point, because we had to do all this stuff to get something we can release.
For point release, but for measure, I think that it would be a better possibility if we can release when it's ready. Because if we have major refactorings going on, okay, then we need to wait that those refactorings are done.
That was the case now, but that it take that long, nobody would have thought that. I think that would take 2 years because we initially thought, okay, maybe a year or something. That will, but we were unsure, so we didn't set a date up front because we couldn't. But all this, we set a date, we postpone the date, we go from set date to a soft freeze that I didn't like that either. So we shouldn't do that again.
For having some, for example, big version, major version, not having a fixed release date. Maybe we could do that, but then we should have beforehand a very specific set of features we want to be able to say, okay, we're done. Otherwise, if we don't have any dates and we don't have any set of features, it's endless. It's like opening something and it's not closable. And that's actually what happened. Because we did have a set of features initially for Qgis 3, which was migrating to Python 3 and to Qt5. But in the end, look at what entered inside Qgis 3 aside from these two stuff. That's a lot. And that's probably where we messed up. It's we didn't have a fixed release, or we tried that. But at the same time, we didn't have a fixed set of features. So if we go away from fixed dates for release at some point for whatever reason, we should at least be very careful of having a specific and very strict set of features we want to enter in this week.
Yeah, of course.
That is maybe that post-it I wrote, seeing QGIS as the Holy Grail, was something I saw on the list. We must have this for QGIS 3. It's nice, yes, but it's not strictly necessary. Having it, postponing the release just because of some features was maybe something we should have not done, I think.
But don't you think that's the tension between professional users or professional companies and developers and community people who do it for fun, maybe? And we will keep that tension, I think.
Yeah, unfortunately, I tend to agree with you on that. But I do think that Qgis, with that amount of users, cannot afford to be not professional just for fun now. I mean, we have millions of users, millions of downloads of the software. That's a huge amount of people depending on our work. And we cannot just say, oh, do whatever you want, I'm just doing this for fun. So we have a responsibility. That's not fun to have a responsibility. But some of us don't like it. It's like that. We do have this because of the success. It's kind of a trap, but we can. It's not because it's something which is important, that it has to be something which is painful. So we have to organize ourselves so that it's make it professional and fun at the same time. It's not something which is antagonistic. You can have fun at work and you can have fun at being professional. That's something which is really doable, and we should work on doing that and not being opposing people who want to be community and fun and people who want to be professional. That's the thing. I don't have any magic receipt for that, but I think that's the direction we should.
I agree. I think we must not mix the fun thing of having new features and having them right now. We can't postpone to 3.2 that is only coming in 4 months. That's quick. That's fast. We already have a very fast release cycle. So I'm not sure that it's only the community contributions that are pushing new features in the. I think we have also professional contributors doing that. Sometimes because we can't say no to a client, for instance, we can't say no. Let's postpone that for 4 months. Maybe we have to learn that and still take some fun out of creating new features, but 4 months later.
I also want to say something positive. a big thank you to the core developers who made this happen, the Qgis Swot. I can't mention all, but definitely Niall is worth mentioning. He spent many days, hopefully not in a burnout, I hope so. And of course, there are many others along that. And also Matthias, who did a lot of work on migrating to Qt 5 and Python, and many others as well. And I still remember 2 years ago, we didn't have a plan how to migrate or move to, and now it happened, and I think it's great. It's not perfect, but it's great to have.
Actually, I don't think we delayed much because of new features. We have missed something, but it was mainly the refactoring that kept things stopped. And of course, if you don't refactor, that's really something you I mean, postponing the refactoring of a part of an important part, like the print manager or something, it would be really bad. I mean, the main thing was not to break the APIs again in 4 months. I agree that we can wait for 4 months. Well, not everybody can wait 4 months for a new feature, but we as a project we can wait. But refactoring is a different story. So, well, anyway, QGIS 4 is not going to happen in 1 year time. So we have time to plan things better, but remember that professional part is still, I would say, not the biggest part of development. If you take into account all the time, well, it's maybe we should start counting that, because there are a number of things that are just taken for granted, like translation, documentation, and everything. And we don't pay for that, so we tend to overestimate, in my view, the importance of paid work. But you mentioned Niall. Niall, we know that he's doing much more than we pay for it. We know that, from our side as BSc. And my feeling is that this is happening in many respects. So I agree very much with Richard. It's a tension in a positive sense in our community, and we have to deal with that. And we have to find the best compromise every time. Nothing is perfect. Someone will always be not totally happy, but the result is great. So I mean, we can deal with that.
Paolo, I agree with you, but I don't think that approaching the project in a professional manner would take the fun out of it for the people that are doing it for fun. They're not two antagonistic things. We can approach something very professional while still allowing the people that do it for work and for fun to be productive in there. Actually, probably approaching it professionally, we make their life easier because they know, even if it's a feature that they do it for fun, they know that it will be coming in the next release. Obviously, this release had the old Qt5 and all the Python 3 code change, which is a huge amount of work, and we had to do it in once. But I agree with Vincent when he says that approaching something professionally, it will make our project even better because we do have a responsibility towards our users. And I don't want to be taking fun away, but by creating something that works as expected, it will actually increase, I guess, the way that the project works.
I want to discuss on the Swot. There are a few items mentioning the fear that the funding for bug fixing or quality assurance, what else, is not ensured. I think it's improving, but probably not yet enough. But I'm wondering from the companies like Oslandia, Boundless, who else is here? Do you get specifically funding for bug fixing as well, or only for feature development?
Both.
So, was said Boundless is no money any longer for Qgis. That was Giovanni said. As for Oslandia, indeed, it's very difficult to have a company paying for bug fixes only. Usually what we sell is a help desk where assistants, where support generally, where they will pay to solve problems. But usually it's to solve specific problems and not like a grant and we do whatever we want for the project with it. The only exception to that is for the Qwat project, where they have a certain amount of money per year to improve Qwat and Qgap, which are specific application. And what we decided together with them is take 10% of that budget to improve Qgis 3 in general. So that's mainly bug fixing. And in this case, we can do whatever we want in the frame of this budget. But generally speaking, it's very difficult to find clients saying, I want to give money for bug fixing. I personally think that could be the role of the Qgis organization to continue with this. And I've always been in favor for the Qgis organization to focus on infrastructure and bug fixing and maintenance instead of feature development, even quant application. I think, well, that's a personal opinion we can discuss well.
Yeah, for us, it's exactly the same. We do have some contracts with entities that allow us to do bug fixing, but it's a small part. It's maybe, don't know, 20%, not even. What we do is something similar. Is when we actually sell a feature or sell fixing something, we try to building some bug fixing around that might be related also to what the work that we are doing. So we discuss with the client, say, look, to fix this problem, there is this thing happening, but on the way we could also fix these other things. And if the clients agree, we do that as well.
If for us at Lutra, for example, we also usually get just clients really wanting or saying we want this and that feature. And again, for bug fixing, it's usually that we have various supported clients. We help them usually from user problems, from time to time they encounter some bugs in the software, and so we tell them, okay, you can work it around in this way, but also we offer them, usually it would maybe take this long, half a day or a day to fix this and get it released in the next version. And unfortunately, most of the clients, they say, oh, no, it's okay, we can live with the workaround, and we will wait for someone else to fix it some other time. So it's unfortunate, but yeah, it's kind of very difficult to get like random clients, small clients, pay for these bug fixes, and usually it needs to be some larger client with whom you work long time or so, and who are willing to like spend some money to like improve the product they are using all the time. So yeah, that's our experience.
Is how the process could be more transparent, how the funds are spent from Qgis.org on bug fixing, because the way it works today is, I know some established core developers that I personally ask, we have time for one or 2 weeks, and then we see what's possible, but it's not an open or transparent process yet. But I'm not sure how to make it more transparent or more efficient. Do you have any ideas on it?
Some comment in the chat.
You want me to read it? Or? Okay. Just to answer your question as well, one point important to note as well is that currently there is not a lack of funding for the Qgis project, except for bug fixes, I mean, but for features, there is no problem in finding people who are willing to fund new features for Qgis, I think. The problem we have is a problem of resources. There are less developers available globally, internationally, than that the money companies are willing to pay them to develop the features in general. And that's also a problem, and the question for bug fixes, after all, is not really that important, because we are not fighting each other to get the money, and it's not that fun work. So usually it's more about who's available, but not that much people available for that.
Yeah, it is true that money is there, but it's also true that it's not evenly distributed. So there are areas which are important. We know they are important, but are much less sexy for the funders. So they get underfunded. And that's where the PSC is. I mean, the whole PSC and the unspecific donation have very important. But I agree that the main problem is having enough hands on the keyboards rather than money. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe one of the threats is not finding enough contributors and raising new committers. We've seen that in Auslandia last year, we lacked a lot of workforce, and suddenly we had the opportunity to let one developer be 100% of his time on QGIS, and then he gained that core committer status. And I don't know if the PSC or the bug fix sprints or runs could be an opportunity to raise and have new core committers. If this is the one of the bottleneck for the project.
Yeah, my point of view is that we are critical at this point, in the sense that there's a lot of contribution possibility for other people to do contribution per request, but we have lack of time or power to review. Sometimes review are not equal managed. Sometimes there are passed some pull requests with a kind of fast track. There is but not really fast track. There are some review that are really strict. It's okay. Other than pass in way too light. It's not equal in that. It could be, I don't know if it makes sense to have a paid reviewer, but I suppose that is really big work because I don't know how much time can do this work full times, but it's really should be a really huge work. I remember pull requests from not only mine. It's not important because I was lucky to work with some core committer before, but from other people from community. Where is George? That will remain there for a lot of time. No one take care of that. That's from my point of view, it's a barrier to attract. Sorry, about plugin. Pull request. To attract core committers or contributors and so on. It's a weakness. Or also an harmful.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult it would be difficult to hire someone to do code review only because you cannot know all the code base. So that's something which is difficult. But,
I have power to review,
but I agree we should have more standardized and more strict review rules for merging.
But just to add that this is an open source project and the communication skills and the social skills are also important. And I think to welcome new contributors and so on, we also need to explain them that it's good to come to these events, to know the developers, because sometimes those pull requests is enough to send some message to another developer that already work on that part of the code and just asking, can you please review and there is no, it works, but people really must know that it's important in an open source project to communicate and to. Yes. That's we are not. We are professionals, but we are not a company. So these aspects are important in the open source project, I think, and it's a strength and not. Yes.
Yeah, I think probably both these two topics, the bug fixing effort and also the pull request reviews, those are very interesting topics in the way that getting some work of new contributors accepted is very important, and it's interesting to see that whenever there are some pull requests, the let's say like range of quality of what is being produced is enormous. So sometimes out of nowhere, someone comes with a pull request that's kind of ready to go. There is hardly anything you could say like fix this or fix that. Then there are other pull requests where you just have a look at it and you know that this could be interesting to merge, but until it gets to the point when it's ready to enter the source code repository, that will be a long way. and there is anything in between. And then from a large part, also, as you say, it's kind of the social thing that different people have different communication skills as well, and different moods. So someone like takes it maybe more personally that they are like rejecting my code, which I have spent so much time to work on, and so on. So it's also for the reviewers, those also like need to be people who like to work with other people, not just with the source code, and also be kind of like a fair referee, not to side with someone that he's my friend, let's say, and even though it's not good quality stuff, I would merge it for him, or the other way around, I don't like that guy, so I will just find more and more problems in the code. So it's yeah, I think something I haven't seen probably in other projects being solved completely in a way that like someone who would be dedicated to reviewing all the code and being paid for it. So we probably still need to think about the models, how to do that.
Yeah, I must add a very similar topic. It's about plugins. I'm doing the reviews, and you know, it's quite a bit of work, and it's not properly done, because I mean, doing a proper review of each plugin would be more than a full-time job, I think I would say. So that's another critical point. And now Admire from Cartosa is helping me sometimes, but still, it's a lot of work, and it's pretty critical for us. And it's something that is unpaid. It's going underneath, and nobody really. I think most of the people don't even realize that there is this kind of work, and I think it's quite important.
I have two interesting things you said, you both. One strength we didn't mention is that the quality of the standards of code now are really much higher than 1 year ago and 2 years ago. We had Vincent Morat at Auslandia just jumping back in QGIS after something, a long pause, doing something else, and it was outstanding. He said, wow, it's hard to pass a pull request. No, it's fun. It's fun because it's high quality standards for informatics. So that's a really strength we should advertise. And the other thing is we should advertise those guys that are paid for implementing something big in one big pull request. We have two recent examples. I recall the spatial light provider refactoring, and I recall, I think, the RFO toolbox thing. And you're right. Please come to the Hackfest and do that within the community, not from the external point of view. If not, you create tension. Could we do something about the plugin review to make it more known? Because it's true, it's hidden.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to do it. It's fun. Yeah, but I'm just. It's actually a critical point. Because, if
but we've also seen tensions, because as it is not known, some people just discover.
We do have occasional tension. Actually, I'm pretty happy about how it's going. But there is always the potential for tension. When you ask one thing, when some very, very occasional, I must say, but you have developers that they feel that they are not being treated well, and we're asking too much. I repeat, it's very, very rare. I could say it's 3 out of 700, you know, but still the potential is there. Maybe you miss something because you do it on your spare time and plug in sleepover and for several weeks, and maybe someone needs it and so on, you know. So there is a potential for that, and I think we are understaffed on that area. So this could be added to plugins is a strength, and reviewing is a weakness. So we can even out.
It can be a threat.
Well, of course, there is always the threat of someone doing something harmful with a plugin. We are not really well prepared for that. It's a remote possibility, but it's since we have millions of users, it's still possible. So it could be a threat. I don't know. We don't have any more stickers, so I'm just telling you. Someone will take note of this, I hope. Patrick.
What about diversity in the community? Infinite debates.
Well,
Wait.
We are improving.
Yeah, that's true.
In what aspect? I mean, the male-female issue, or
that's general.
or racial or age, maybe.
I've junior coming and being the future core committers or reviewers, or that's one thing. Too. Always we have to think of the future of the new generation to come and join.
In my case, I try to because more or less I entered also with the in the market more than in the project with porting stuffs from 1.8 to 2. I just invited in every place, invited guys in university and so on to the test moment to port stuff to enter in the code and port stuff. Probably could be a good advertisement sent from the project because from the project to invite guys to study code and do importing. That help the community. If okay, some company probably it is a way to exploitation of so high quality works, but it's a good way to approach new developers. That was my experience, so I try to share with other guys.
We have some new faces here. David, you're here for the second time, or Mario, do you feel welcome, or could we do better?
Yeah, actually, when I just started when we went to Notable half a year ago, and I was quite it was really nice to come to this community. I think everybody is very helpful, and of course you come there and you of some aspects you don't have any idea. But there is not, I think in the IT could be this arrogance sometime with the hardcore freaks against the new ones. And that's what they want to show them. But yes, in this community, it was not like this. It's really nice atmosphere. I liked it. You want to say something?
Okay. I think what you done this year with this kind of workshops. Now, what's the name? Mentorship.
on different topics was a very nice idea. And yes, it's not easy. I'm not a core developer, but maybe in the future will be a good idea. And I think it's not easy to enter, to start working on the core. And so something like this workshop, it's a good idea. And maybe we can do more in this direction, like some, I don't know, a tutor that can help to start developing, committing, and creating first pull request and similar.
Like an individual tutor.
Yes, so something similar.
One thing some open source projects do as well is have specific items in the issue tracker saying good for beginner, like little things nobody does because it's not really important, but we know it's easy to do. It's just, it takes time, and mark them as it is and maintain like just a list of small. We have a list? Okay. So, okay, sorry for that. And one of the things, I mean, to help contributing and all, maybe linked to the certification. So I haven't done the feedback, but I do think there are a lot of companies using QGIS and providing services around QGIS who are not contributing back at all, and they should financially, but I think financially, the financial element is not the main one. As I said earlier, we need more people to contribute to the code, and you were talking about documentation, about all these things, plugin reviews and all. And I think we could use the certification program to improve that just by saying every single company who wants to be certified so as to be able to emit certificate has to contribute to the project. And when they want to be certified, they have to do like a file and prove that they're contributing in any way, could be documentation or whatever, but we could do this as you want to be part of it, then prove that you're part of it, and first do your classes, and then you're gonna have this certification program.
I was just wondering, when you say that, if for the certification, I don't know the whole curriculum, could part of that be, just a small part, that you have to be acquainted with fixing bugs?
Not necessarily bugs, but any contribution.
Yeah, but the small easy stuff, or you know.
We have this discussion in Portuguese user group. So I think the certificate program can be a way to put some companies that don't contribute with the project, paying something, or in code, or making documentation, or giving some part of the profits of the trainings to the project, so can pay like bug fixing. So the bug fixing is one of the problems. It's not easy to get some money to pay this kind of thing. So if a company that do training don't want to do bug fixing, don't want to do documentation, the certification program at least have something saying you need to give a little of your profit to bug fixing. So in this way, we have a certificate program that is not only a paper certificate by the project, but they already contribute to the project. I think we have this discussion in Portugal because we have a lot of companies that are using QGIS and doing training and don't do at all contribution for the project. So these need to be changed.
Well, for this, there is a new certification system which if it starts to become used by companies, it will at least give 20 euros for each course that you do, for each participant.
Yeah, but I
And
do
then
think
it's up to the PSC or
I do think it's not about the money.
to
It's about
decide if this goes to.
yeah, it's not about the money. It's, I mean, 20 euros. We can find money, but finding people and finding people who are going to contribute. And once they start contributing, probably they will continue on contributing, even if they're not trainer any longer or whatever. And maybe they're gonna do some plugin review, and maybe they're gonna increase their involvement with the project. But if they just give money, it's too easy. I mean, it's and it's not that the most important element for the QGIS project right now. It's not the money; it's the people. And get back something. Another thing is why is it's important is to give a message that it's not only the money that has value. I mean, contributing documentation has value. Contributing bug fixes has a lot of value, and this is something which that people who don't contribute, they don't know that. They only think, oh. You want me to give something? I'm gonna give you money because that's the easiest thing in when you're a company. But it's actually because they don't know what value is as a documentation. They don't know what value as a bug fix. But why do they don't know that? It's because they've never done it before. So if you tell them, okay, you got to do it so that you know what it's like, and then you know how much it represents, then they will take also consideration for the global project of QGIS and its real value, not in terms of money, but in terms of effort. And once they do that, they will probably change their consideration of the community, of the open source community, of the open source project.
I think this could be definitely part of trainings that those training agency give. I mean, when we do a training for beginner QGIS, one of the first things that I explain to the people is that bug reporting is the most crucial part for us to know where the problems are. So maybe it would be really important for every institution or every entity that gives courses relating to QGIS to really take care and explain people how to file a bug, what a bug is. Maybe they don't, the participants, beginner people don't even realize the fact that they can help.
Clicking, we have troubles lighting the microphone. That's true. To me, to go in the same direction as you said, I've seen many of those training business models. They are selling their own documentation papers, and they're not even thinking about contributing to the core documentation because it's the opposite of their business model. If they can continue this business model, but they won't give certificate to their students. I wouldn't like the idea, at least a start, to allow them to distribute certificate just because they paid. There is nothing. We are not teaching them to change their way of contributing. For instance, those who see most issues are those trainers. They eat all the issues, for sure, more than us.
This is why we and Paulo are the most
prolific. Yeah, but you contribute back. And we all know that some issues take days or months to be narrowed down, and sometimes hours just to be fixed when it's correctly described. And this is where we lost most hours of work in the project, is trying to narrow down the condition of an issue. And I think that training companies have a role to play there. And certification being a certificated company could be creating a file saying, yes, I am contributing to the issues frequently. Yes, I am translating. Yes, I am doing documentation or whatever. During core committing, we won't ask trainers to make pull requests on C++. I don't have any illusion on that, but that could be a solution for the rest.
I of course agree, and there is no way that I cannot agree. The problem is I can make the case of Portugal that it is I don't know why companies that use QGIS as a business model not apparently wants to contribute. They are not interested. They find it that it's more than enough to just use work of others. It's hard it's here that we try to explain what is the sustainable model, what are the right things to do. So contribute to the documentation instead of writing your own. Take care of the software that allows you to do business, etc., etc. But it's harder than it seems. Yeah, well, the certificates can help, and it's good if it's the company that pays, not the trainee.
Yeah, but no, the thing is, if you only allow company to be certificated if they contribute, so where's the line? So that's where.
Some other euros and
yeah, but
because
just
I see many companies that in Portugal want to enter this certification scheme and make it means to pay certificate and say that they are contributing.
I think it's a general.
But I think it can be just not a question of paying, but a question of contributing. They must show that they contribute.
Because what we...
But 1,000 bucks here per one, and we're opening labs, so wait. It's difficult. We are thinking about that since the beginning.
Yeah, but anyway...
But still, I agree that it's a good.
Anyway, we will have to, for certification, we will have to have some rules to be able to say who is going to be certificated as a company. So if we're going to have rules, let's say the rules contribute. There will always be a line to choose and something to choose about. So no, it's not simple. I haven't said it's simple. But, and then, because what we saw in France is that companies giving classes trainings with QGIS are actually companies who are giving training with QGIS beforehand, and they just don't care whatever software they're using, be it open source or not. They do QGIS training because people want QGIS training, and that's all. So they learn how to use QGIS, and it's even better for them. It's free. They don't have to buy any license, so it's cool. But they don't know at all how open source work. Most of them, I mean. And if you look at this, not all of them, but a lot of them don't even know how it works. And if you look at it, even the prices of the training are very low, because they just lower the prices because there is a strong competition between them, and they can lower the price because they don't pay any license for the software. So, I don't think we can. It will be a very hard work to go to them and say, explain how open source work and how it would be good for them to contribute and all. We can do that, but it will take a lot of time. But having the certification as a kind of it's a kind of speaking their language. I mean, okay, you want this, then you have to do that. It's very simple. Contribute, and then we can explain to you, because we can accompany you.
One day training explaining.
Could be.
The Zumba worked like that.
Zumba. Let's do QGIS Zumba. I totally agree. There is a parallel. How do you become a co-committer? There is no threshold. There is no clear rule. One day it becomes obvious that the quality of the contribution are enough, sufficient enough, and there is trust. So you are invited to. We could do something a little bit more explicit because we would have many demands of certifications in the world, probably. But I would like to have quite the same process. You have pull requests on documentations, they are of good quality, they are sustainable in time. Yeah, come, jump in. That could be the way. And this is a group work. I think it's possible. We can reach that because we already do that for core committers.
Yeah,
and,
sorry.
You go ahead.
I absolutely agree with you. I think that there should be, as Vincent was saying, a way to. I mean, asking for a certification, it's a step from a company toward us to want something from us, and that's the moment where you say yes, but the say price, not in money, but the price in contribution is this, this, and this, and we for sure can do it. So I'd be absolutely for this.
And to go still in the same direction, when I was responsible of training 80 people in my previous job, I had tried to make training companies change their mind. I was even ready to pay them more, 5% more, so that they contribute back, so that they create issues. I tried it. It didn't work. Why? Yeah. They didn't have time. They tried once and then they stopped. So I don't think those companies could be really certificated because they don't choose to jump in that open source business model. That's a debate.
But isn't it a little idealistic to think that everybody thinks like we do? Don't you think there is a group of people who just thinks different and they don't care, and maybe, well, the only way they can contribute is send money. So certification is a model, and we can maybe put demands on, or what do you call it, demands or so on a certificate, that they have to show us their paperwork, or what do you call it, their material, or send us maybe their material, or maybe have to show a certain YouTube video that we make. We at least hope that the people who are attending pick up stuff.
Well, deep down also is the idea that we, as a community of QGIS developers, contributors, do a lot of work which is hidden and which has a lot of value. And what I would like is for this value to be recognized by us, at least. Just speaking about it, like Paulo says, I do some plugin review and it takes a lot of time, and we don't know it. I mean, we don't know how much it represents or not. So the first step would be to talk about that and to find something which is more even for everyone, or at least transparent, or at least a minimum transparent. But this kind of this idea of getting the value of the work done better known is true inside the community, but it's true also for outside the community. And this idea of making people contribute is more also of getting them to recognize the value of contribution and the value of the work which is done, more than the money which is behind.
Sorry. So someone talked about the 20 euros that someone would have to pay. Maybe a mix of contribution and money. So, for instance, if a company that usually contributes to the QGIS project, the fee for each certificate could be lower than the fee for someone that choose not to contribute at all, something like that. So if they choose just to pay money, then the certificate should be more expensive. It could be the 20 euros and the other ones only pay 5 euros. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, I would say that we also need to stay like realists. That I agree with Richard was saying also that for many companies, whatever kind of conditions we would set, they don't care about anything like community or so. So they would just do whatever is necessary to tick the boxes and then disappear again. So if it's the requirement like pay this amount or report $10 or do something, so they would report $10. Maybe they are not even valid or anything, and just say like now we are ready, and that's it. So we just may be quite disappointed with.
Yeah, but I do think you can try to fool the community, but it won't last long. I mean, we all know as open source contributors and as a company manager that image and the image you have in a community is a lot of value, and if you kill that image, you're done. So if you try to fool the community, you get backlash and trace on the effect or whatever you want, and you won't probably get out of it with much value. It's not worth it. And I mean, we can still have something which lasts. So you have to contribute, but you can't stop contributing. I know there will be tries to work around everything, but we can deal with these cases later on when it happens, I think.
We have 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's really a difficult issue because it is true that you can work out a system based on trust, which ultimately is the only thing. If you write some rules, of course, people will cheat and find a way. But it's also difficult to say no to someone without, well, I trust you and I give you. But that looks like, a group of friends that keeps everybody out. So I think it's still difficult. And another thing is you'll be talking about visibility for the work we are doing. Now you say that we have millions of users, which is true. And I think we still have 500 subscribers to the user mailing list. So, I mean, almost all of our users don't know us, don't know the work we are doing. They have really no idea. So they can't even say thanks to Jürgen because they don't know who is Jürgen and why he's doing something and everything. So in a way, giving more visibility could be a possibility also. Yeah, but this has to be done through QGIS itself. You can't do it through the website. I don't think.
Qgis is the only channel
to reach. Well, we reach people. I know that this raises other problems, but I don't think we have a better channel, really. Mailing list is useless for that. Even the website is not. So I think it's interesting to deal with that, and we have to. But, okay.
During your first opening Zoom.
You mean it could be like when you install QGIS, you have some explanation, or you're going to bring me and say, this is the best factor. Yeah, and as well as instead of in the tips thing, which happens, yeah. No, but instead of doing like QGIS little tips, we could have explanation about the project and how it works and how we should contribute that kind of thing. Something like that.
It's
yeah.
That's why I say it's not a very good idea, but
yeah, in
something
that.
Yeah, but we are trying to make a new welcome screen
something
different. So. But I would add as not a strength that we also don't know our users, and we have these discussions from time to time, and I think we need to write a plan how to incorporate something in the software and on the plugins to know who is using what and yes.
So why don't we talk about the
No, I was just saying that. Yeah. Because users don't know us, but we also don't know our users, so it's.
To all. Really productive. We have many post-it.